Cultivating Mindfulness to Support Recovery will be presented by Dr. Libby Robinson. Dr. Robinson has practiced mindfulness meditation since 1979 and was trained to teach mindfulness-based stress reduction by Jon Kabat-Zinn and colleagues at the University of Massachusetts Center for Mindfulness. She has taught mindfulness-based stress reduction since 2003, and she retired from the University of Michigan, where she was a research assistant professor, carrying out NIH-funded research in the role of spiritual and religious change in recovery. She also did an NIAAA post-doctoral fellowship at the University of Michigan Addiction Research Center, and was on the social work faculty at Case Western Reserve University and the University of Buffalo. Dr. Robinson has an MSW, MPH, and a Ph.D. in psychology and social work from the University of Michigan. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Libby Robinson.
Thanks. Let's talk about mindfulness. What is it? It's this buzzword. It's become this thing, right? So this is the definition that Jon Kabat-Zinn developed, which is like a lot of the other definitions that are out there. He's the guy who ended up creating this 8-week curriculum, which I teach and some other people here in the area teach, all about cultivating mindfulness. And a lot of the research that's been done on mindfulness is done on people who've gone through an 8-week program like this. But this is his definition, right? Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way. That is, on purpose, deliberately, in the present moment, this present moment, without judgment. Without judgment. Well, I don't like my chair. My clothes are too hot. My feet hurt. I'm cold. You know, how quick we are to kick into our little judgments, right? Some of them are big judgments, some of them are little judgments. But it's helpful to kind of notice, oh, falling into judgment. Okay, let it go. Don't get stuck there. So it's all about developing this awareness of what's going on in our immediate present moment experience, including any physical sensations, any thoughts, any feelings that might be arising, without judging oneself. This is one of the entities that we are most judgmental about, is ourselves, or our experience, and without holding on to the experience or pushing it away. I'm really pissed off at that person. I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to be mad at them forever, right? Anybody else ever been there? Or I'm really scared. You know, holding on to that, noticing, just noticing. Oh, I don't have to hold on to that fear. I can notice what else is going on in this present moment. So let me ask you, you're sitting here right now at this moment right now, what do you notice in your present moment experience right now? What do you notice? Physical sensations, thoughts, feelings? Breathing, noticing breathing. Yeah, that's always going on, right? So it's really kind of handy thing to notice now and then. Other things people notice? Yeah. Sounds, right? Hearing sounds, sure. What else?
The cool air kind of flowing through the room.
Right, so the sensation of cool air moving through the room. Other people? Pardon me? The smell of fresh coffee, right, yeah. And that's a real, taste and smell are really interesting things to notice in the present moment. They can be very brief, but they can be very vivid too. Anything else? You notice thinking? What is she going to talk about next? Is this really going to be interesting? Am I going to be glad I came? I don't know. Or feelings, emotions. I don't want to be here. Why do we have to come? Whatever, you know, you can fill in the blank, right? But there's always this sort of there's always this stuff going on in our heads and in our minds and in our immediate experience, a lot of which we can be kind of not aware of. Is that a comment or question? Okay. Just, If you have, I'm game for you to ask questions at any time during the talk, or make a comment, or ask a question, or stuff like that. I'm a pretty informal presenter, which you might have gathered already. Okay, so moments of mindfulness aren't really that unusual. You've all had them. You know, think about that Honeycrisp apple that you had a couple weeks ago. I mean, that was, it's crispy, right? And sweet. And that moment that you noticed, though, those were moments of mindfulness, right? Those cold days we had in early November, when it first started to decide that it was going to be winter. But we can also remember the times we've been on a beach, just kind of feeling the sun on your face, or walking down the street, feeling the sun on your face, walking in a park, eating something absolutely delicious, a piece of chocolate. You know, remember, those are moments of mindfulness, right? So it's not like we don't do this during ordinary life. But what's rare is the persistent cultivation of mindfulness. And sustained cultivation of mindfulness is associated with a number of mental and physical health benefits. Oh, really? Okay. So if I do more, that might happen? Yeah, that might happen. So what I'm going to invite you to do over the next hour or so is to pay attention to this present moment, to whatever you're noticing in this present moment. And then notice where the attention is, notice what you're aware of, and then notice the next moment, which might be different. It might be the same. Maybe something's sticking around. Maybe it's not. So just noticing. So I'm going to ask you to try that little experiment in present moment mindfulness as we do this. This idea that sustained mindfulness is useful is nothing new. It didn't come out of Jon Kabat-Zinn's head like, light bulbs going off in those cartoons that we watched when we were kids. The ancient Greeks and Romans talked about it. Almost every world religion has some strand, some thread in which there is an effort to cultivate that, whether it's centering prayer in Catholicism, or Quaker meditation, or Buddhist Vipassana meditation. Those are all around this whole idea about cultivating our ability to pay attention to this present moment. And then the American transcendentalists, Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson, also talked about the value of being present. And that's where I first ran across it, because my dad was a big fan of the American transcendentalists, of both these guys, and he had books, and I was reading them when I was a teenager, and tried being mindful, tried being aware of the present moment. But I didn't have a lot of tools for doing that. And now at this point, given the work of Jon Kabat-Zinn and of course my own personal experience cultivating mindfulness meditation, I have a better ability to really understand it. But at the time, I really wasn't able to hold on to this being present thing. I noticed that it was helpful, that I was less likely to get pissed off at my siblings or my parents or my schoolmates or other things, get caught up in other ways, but I wasn't able to stick with it. And it's been easier to stick with it because of the practice that I've done. And then most recently you get Eckhart Tolle, who you may be familiar with his stuff. He wrote The Power of Now, and he's written some others. And he shows up on the Oprah Winfrey Show and leads the entire country in doing mindfulness meditation. So it's not like it's just about Jon Kabat-Zinn or anything like that. Mindfulness is not a religion. You don't have to, the way we teach it is very secular. Secular in the sense that it's not religious. It's not about Buddhism, it's not about Catholicism, it's just about learning to be present. And you can do that whether you're an atheist or whatever. It's not about cultivating a state of bliss. It's not about only noticing the present moment when the food tastes great or when everything is hunky-dory, because we know that's not always the case in life, right? No surprise. But it's not about only paying attention when everything is cool. It's not about cultivating a trance state. Some forms of meditation are more focused on those kinds of experiences. That's not what mindfulness meditation is about. It's definitely not about automatic pilot. As a matter of fact, it's really about being aware of automatic pilot, when we're falling into automatic pilot. Whether it's that, how many times have you been driving down the street and you were supposed to stop at the grocery store on your way home and you just zip right past that corner, right? Just, where was my head? Or we drive to work, or we get on the bus and we go to work and we don't even remember. Or we go somewhere and we don't even remember the drive and what it was like and who we saw and what was going on. It's also not about an empty mind. Sometimes when you read about meditation, you'll run across this phrase, particularly in the Zen tradition, about an empty mind. We're trying to empty the mind. And when you really interrogate those people, they don't literally mean an empty mind. They mean more like a mind that's not attached, that's not hooked, that's not connected to stuff. So it's really not about not thinking or not feeling or not noticing. It's also not something to harass yourself about. I remember running across an article that was making the rounds. Somebody was really angry at the people who were promoting mindfulness because she was a mother and she was having a really hard time being mindful all the time toward her kids. Well, yeah, being a parent, whether you're a mom or a dad, is hard, and it's not unusual to lose your temper or to get a little short or feel tired and exhausted, a little tired of this whole parenting thing. And so she was beating herself up about it, and she forgot about this piece about how important it is in mindfulness to not judge ourselves. That's a really well-worn neural pathway that we've all got going that we need to become more aware of. Let it go. Don't hold on to that self-judgment. It's not a cure for whatever ails you. If you've got heart disease like I do, or cancer, it's not going to make it all better. But hopefully we handle that better. We don't get quite as freaked out. We are better at managing it, at dealing with it, at taking care of ourselves and doing what's best for us. And that's true if we're struggling with addictions as well, It's not a quick fix. It takes effort. It takes practice. Practice, practice, practice. You'll hear me say that a number of times tonight. It's also not about passivity. My dad, he was a Methodist minister. He thought that, and he was not into any of this meditation stuff. He thought it was baloney, and that people who meditated were just passive lumps and not doing anything. Well, yeah, we're not. It looks like we're not doing anything, but we actually are making some progress in terms of not getting stuck in our heads. So it's not passivity in the sense he meant it. He, of course, everything was all about doing in his case. Mindfulness is really much more about being. We get very caught up in doing in current American culture. What if we can we just be at this moment, right here, right now? That's hard. It's a switch, isn't it, from how we ordinarily do things. So what I want to do first is talk a bit about, this is a summary of a lot of the research that's out there. If you wanted a talk on the research, that's a whole other talk. This is a talk much more about doing it, about what it is and how to practice it. But there's tons of research going on right now about mindfulness and its impact on various emotional states, physical states. And the first that Jon Kabat-Zinn originally developed this to work with people who had severe and chronic pain. like a roofer who's fallen off one too many roofs and is basically looking at a life of being on opioids, or or learning mindfulness and learning how to work with being in pain. And so we picked up, there's quite a bit of evidence at this point that it helps reduce depression, anxiety, eating disorders, stress, this feeling of tension, and pain, physical pain. Quite a few studies have documented increases in immunological response. So like if you get a flu shot, after having taken a mindfulness class, your body is much more likely to generate the antibodies to the flu than if you hadn't. That's the kind of study that would look at that. Reduced blood pressure, reduced cholesterol. Cholesterol is one of the stress hormones. And this is a squishy thing to say, increased psychological well-being. What does that mean? Well, it sounds good, doesn't it? But it is people basically reporting that they feel better. Enhanced cognitive functioning, there's quite a bit of research on that at this point, which is nice for those of us who are older and who worry about these things. Fibromyalgia patients improved. Cancer patients reported being more coping better with their diagnoses, with being on chemotherapy and things like that. We also see decreases in substance use. Whether people have an actual disorder or diagnosis of substance abuse, but still there's a reduction in actual use. So a person may, instead of smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, is only smoking 5 or 6 cigarettes a day, maybe. The thing that's really interesting to me, as somebody who teaches this stuff, is that these changes appear to persist. When you take a pill and you feel some benefit from having taken an antidepressant or an anxiety pill or something like that, when you stop taking the pill, that effect goes away, right? But the interesting things about learning mindfulness is that the changes appear to persist. Even this is assuming an 8-week mindfulness course with maybe 15 to 20 minutes a day of practice. And it's surprising to me that not only do the changes appear to persist, but they can actually document changes in the brain. The area of the brain that's sort of the fear center of the brain, the amygdala, actually shrinks. Amazing, right? And the gray matter, which is this executive functioning up here, that's not the gray matter, but that's the prefrontal cortex, that seems to develop more neurons. So there are actually changes at the neuron level and at the brain structure level, which is pretty interesting stuff. So, this sounds like a panacea, right? How does this supposed to work? Why should it help people? Well, there seems to be an increase in people's ability to regulate where their attention is. Does my attention go to, I have to tell you a story about going to a family reunion in August. And after the reunion was over, I got so stuck in all this old family history, how my brothers treated me and what they thought about me. And really, I was stuck, But I didn't really notice that I was stuck, right? It took a little while. But you get better. I'm better than I used to be at noticing what's going on, right? Noticing where my attention is, noticing where I'm stuck. And then going, oh, I don't have to stay stuck. I can let that go. Can I let it go? Yeah, I can let it go. I can notice what else is going on. Right now, the sun is shining. Okay. Noticing. Bringing our attention to present moment experiences. There's also more awareness of the body, partly because one of the easiest ways to bring our attention to the present moment is to notice physical sensations. The 5 sensory experiences we have, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, touching, those are all present moment experiences. Our thoughts, when we stop and look at them, are very often about the past. Well, you know what he said to me, blah, blah, blah. Or the future, what am I going to do? When I see her next, I know what I'm going to say. You know, and rehearsing that in our heads, worrying about something. I've got a job interview next week. Oh my God, what if I don't get it? You know, we get very caught up in the past and the future. There's also this phenomena of what the cognitive psychologists called emotional regulation and reappraisal. You walk down the street, right? You see somebody you know on the other side of the street. You yell, you wave, they don't even respond, right? What's the first thought? Oh my God, what did I say? Why is she mad at me? Whatever, you know, I mean, the mind starts to kind of glom onto this, right? Gets a little stuck there, right? Well, if we've been practicing mindfulness, we might go, oh, look, I'm stuck. Oh, maybe that's not really what's going on. You know, here I am, I'm all interpreting this potentially innocuous thing. I mean, it may have nothing to do with me, right? It might have to do with the fact that she's lost in the ozone. I don't know. So, you know, so being a little bit more open to the possibility that our first thought isn't necessarily true. Walking down a path at Mathai Botanical Gardens, you see something long and dark on the path in front of you. Is it a snake? Or is it a stick? And noticing the reactivity that we might have if we think it's a snake. Maybe it's not a snake. Maybe it's just a stick. Or maybe by the time we get there, it's gone, whatever it was. We might also notice this phenomena that something arises, let's say a fear, or anger, sadness. An old habit of mind, we might notice it arising. And if we don't respond to it, if we don't glom onto it, if we don't act on it, if we let it go again and again and again, after a while, it's less likely to come up. When you think about what we're doing, we're really changing these well-worn neural pathways that we have going on in our heads right now. There's this well-worn neural pathway, this is a hypothesis, okay? That maybe every time I go by this corner where that friend lives, I think about using. Or every time I get pissed off, I think about it. So we can notice when that happens. We can go, oh, I know what's happening. Okay, let it go. Don't hold on to it. No need to respond that way. We can let it be. So this whole idea of exposure, being where we notice the experience that's coming up, and we don't respond to it. And over time, we shift to a different way of relating to that experience when it does arise. We also see people getting a different sense of the perspective of themselves. You know, maybe we used to think of ourselves as a miserable, no good person, and maybe that doesn't have as much validity to us anymore. Maybe we're less likely to believe that thought when it arises. The other area, mindfulness and the cultivation of compassion toward oneself, toward other people, they're intricately associated with each other. There's actually a course taught here in Ann Arbor called Mindful Self-Compassion that Paulette Grotrin teaches. And it's true, the more, if I'm cultivating non-reactivity to things that arise in my experience, if I'm cultivating non-judgment, if I'm cultivating loving kindness toward myself, toward other people I run across in my life, that carries over. And we're a little bit less judgmental toward ourselves, toward other people, toward this friend who never responded to you on the street, right? There was a time maybe when you'd take that really personally and you'd get really angry at her, and next time you saw her, you wouldn't even talk to her, right? But it doesn't have to do with you. Maybe we can just let that go. We can just let that be. On the other hand, there's always an on the other hand, right? This isn't a magic bullet. You know, you have to practice. You have to work at it. You have to be patient with yourself, with our crazy minds. I mean, really, our minds are kind of nuts. When you start to pay attention to it, you realize, oh my God, what is going on here? But you know, everybody's out there dealing with the same stuff. So, and being very persistent, keeping at it, even when you're going, you know, she told me to meditate, and sorry, it was just a drag, and nothing happened. You know, keep trying it. Keep trying it. So training, remember, we're training our minds. We're training our awareness. This isn't something that's going to happen in 5 minutes. It's something that you have to do daily. Kind of like brushing your teeth daily, right? Our default neural networks are automatic, and we're trying to interrupt those automatic patterns, first by just becoming aware of them. Just noticing where our minds go, and kind of like, there I am. I'm all mad at this friend who I saw on the street who didn't acknowledge me, right? Well, maybe it doesn't have anything to do with me. But noticing when we're caught, noticing when that happens. So repeatedly cultivating awareness and compassion is important in gaining the benefits of mindfulness. So practicing just noticing. Maybe what we notice is judgment. Okay, there's judgment. Okay, but we don't have to hold on to it, right? We don't have to push it away. We could just, there's judgment. Okay, what else is going on in this present moment? Over and over, with great patience, with great friendliness. Can we be as friendly to ourselves as we are toward some of our friends? Something to think about. So, we've been sitting here together for a little while, noticing the present moment as best we can, right? So what have you noticed while I've been talking, or at this very moment right now? What have you noticed? Yeah?
Arriving late, I had to take a deep breath after about 5 minutes to focus on what was going on.
Yeah, right. So noticing that, okay, all right, I'm here, and settling, the body kind of settling, yeah. Other people, what else have you noticed going on since I last suggested that, which was about 15 minutes ago or so?
The stillness, the quietness, the gentle voice on the stage.
Oh, okay, thank you. Noticing being pleased. Thank you. So noticing I'm standing up here, I'm moving around, I'm waving my hands, I'm telling funny stories or not, I'm saying things that might or might not make sense. Just noticing. Yeah, just noticing that. I mean, that's a pretty conspicuous thing to notice. What else did you notice?
Your scarf.
Oh. Thank you. So there's a lot of awareness of seeing, right? Seeing is one of our sources of sensory input that's particularly vivid to us. And we can notice that. And notice that we're noticing color, we're noticing darkness, lightness, we're noticing movement. There's all sorts of things to notice. There's a fan kind of drone thing over there. Yeah, so we can notice that. What else do you notice? Yeah. Noticing the clock. Yeah. So let me just pursue that just as I. Is it irritating?
No, it's actually very soothing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. That's great. I was giving a talk once at the IPSI library, and somebody was next to the clock, and they found it really irritating. So you can notice that. Is this thing that I'm noticing, is it pleasant, or is it unpleasant, or is it neutral? So we can notice that things vary on that dimension. There was somebody, yeah.
Lighting is it's not too bright, it's kind of soothing your,
Uh-huh.
so you're warming it up and you're.
Yeah, so noticing differences in lighting, right, across different, which reminds me, I need to probably stay in the light for the sake of the videographer. Okay, so, there's always some, oh, sorry.
Just minor adjustments to my posture.
Right, minor adjustments to your posture. Right, have you been moving your feet at all in the last 20 minutes? Yeah, maybe. Or maybe you've noticed, crossing, uncrossing your legs. Maybe you've noticed crossing, uncrossing your arms. Are your arms like this? Are they like that? What are your hands touching? Right now at this moment. Yeah, we can notice that. If we were a smaller group, I'd lead you through a mindful eating exercise, but it's kind of hard to do that in this group. But you can try that. Afterwards, go and grab something to eat and just really look at it using all 5 of your senses, right? Looking at it, smelling it, right? Putting a little bit in your mouth, tasting that first taste, seeing what it's like as it sits there, and then slowly chewing it and then swallowing it. And just kind of experiment. What do you notice? Oh, well, gee, I like that. No, I don't like that. Or, ooh, it sits heavy, whatever. We can just notice. Just paying attention. Okay, so what does this have to do with substance abuse issues, right? And this is my version of what happens if we're struggling with substance use issues. This is out of order on your handouts. This original slide is at the end, toward the end. But I moved it this way because I think you'd like to know this sooner than the very end. I think it's about awareness. We become aware, and we have more choice when we become aware. And we can also bring compassion to ourselves and to other people. And that's a real helpful aspect of this. So we become aware of cravings before they hijack us. We can become aware, for example, you all know about fault, right? Fault, is that how you say it? Pain, hunger, anger, loneliness, tiredness, or also known as just halt. I think the P part of it may be new. But, anytime these arise, I'm really angry. I want to drink. We can notice that when A, the anger comes up, and B, right away the mind goes to, I want to drink, or whatever, But we can become aware of that, and then we can make a choice about, oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Backing off, shifting the attention to something else. And maybe having to shift the attention again and again if we're particularly annoyed by whatever happened that made us angry. So choosing deliberately to look at things differently. Choosing to not act on destructive inclinations that arise. And they will arise, It seems to be part of life. And cultivating compassion toward ourselves, including our recovery efforts. This is a big deal to make this effort, right? And there may be lapses, and there may be relapses, and there may be failures. But, are we going to beat ourselves up about it? Are we going to say, okay, all right, okay. What am I going to do now? How am I going to get myself out of this now? So that we don't stay stuck in this pattern of, oh, I'm such a wretched person, there's nothing else to do but just keep going down this destructive path. So really paying attention and taking care of ourselves, I think this is really where it comes down to. So this is a quote from an article in a magazine called Tricycle that I subscribe to. If we train ourselves, and they're talking about snacks or picking up the phone or text messaging, right? If we train ourselves to reach for a snack or to reach for our cell phones whenever we feel frightened or bored or angry or sad, pretty soon this is training. We're training ourselves, right? We're training ourselves. Every time I feel angry, I reach for a snack. Every time I feel bored, I reach for my phone or my tablet or whatever you use, right? So it's become an automatic response on our part. So how do we interrupt that automatic response? And the first part is, of course, just noticing that we're caught. Oh, yeah, okay. We can put the phone down. We can put the snack away. We can throw it away. We can give it to somebody else. We can choose to not do it. And it may take doing this repeatedly. That's why the persistence is so important. Practicing, noticing, letting it go again and again and again and again. So, because the next time we feel uncomfortable, bored, sad, angry, whatever, we're going to reach for some comfort outside ourselves instead of starting to learn that there is comfort inside ourselves. If we can tap into that, the answers are really inside ourselves. And how can we access those? We can access those by freeing ourselves from a lot of these mental neural networks that we're caught up in a lot. So these are some changes that I've identified that I see as being relevant to recovery. Picking up on decreases in craving, decreases in stress. It's not like stress goes away entirely. Stress is not, what's the word I'm looking for? Stress has some benefit in the sense that, like, if we were brought up in an environment in which there was no stress at all, we'd probably be like those, what was that? There was that movie about the two little robots that saved the world and, pardon me? Yes, right. And there's actually some research done on rabbits who are brought up in a completely stress-free environment don't live as long as those who were brought up in a more normal rabbit environment. If my husband and I were talking about presentations, because I get nervous when I do a presentation. You might not know that, but it's true. And how, if we walked into our presentations, his or mine, and we were very nonchalant about it, and not stressed out at all about it, it would be, I think, a more boring and not as interesting presentation, you know? So a little edginess. I mean, after all, why do we get on roller coasters? Why do we go to scary movies? There's a part of us that likes that, right? There's a part of us that's attracted to it. Do we get stuck there? That's what you want to look at. Do I get stuck? Only, wanting that all the time. And thinking that life isn't real unless I am, like, on the edge of my seat. Anxiety, depression decreased. PTSD symptoms. Tony King, who's at the VA, is doing a whole bunch of work on vets who have issues with PTSD. Thought suppression. We're not trying to suppress thoughts. Look at that. That's what's going on. Okay. And can we, when we notice that thought going on, can we acknowledge it without judging ourselves for having that thought? Well, that's another way to look at it, isn't it? Maybe it's okay that I'm scared. Maybe it's okay that I'm annoyed with my sister, Maybe, yeah. I don't have to do anything about it, but I don't have to hold on to being annoyed with her. But, yeah, I was. Yeah, it's okay. Pain and pain. Increases in acceptance of whatever's going on right now. Maybe what's going on right now is pleasant, and that's easy to accept, right? Maybe what's going on right now is not pleasant. Maybe it makes us angry or sad. or scared. But that's what's going on right now. And we need to, can we cultivate that ability to be present with it? Acting with awareness, bodily sensations, emotion. So I'm more aware of my body than I used to be, which is good. Emotional regulation, getting better at noticing when we're really upset and when we're not. Compassion, connection, joy, and sense of purpose. There's quite a bit of research on how a sense of purpose in life is helpful in recovery. My research and other people's research has shown that. So, there's two ways to cultivate mindfulness. There are many ways, but there are two big ways of doing it. One is meditation, which I'll introduce you to a short meditation in just a bit. But the other is this informal, being present in your ordinary life, in my ordinary life, in our ordinary life, right here, right now. That's what I've been doing during the first part of the presentation, where I've been asking you to, well, what's going on right now? What do you notice right now? Bringing your attention to this moment. Which is actually, in many ways, what people stick with after an 8-week mindfulness class. They're more likely to continue to do that than anything else. So once again, let's go through this a little more systematically. Do you notice the sensations of your feet on the floor? Are they on the floor? Maybe one foot's on the floor and the other foot's crossed. Just noticing, right? There's no judgment. Either way, they're all fine, but we're just noticing, right? Maybe we're noticing the sensations of our buttocks and thighs on the chair. Maybe, can we notice that without judging? Maybe we're falling into judgment right away. Well, I'm sitting wrong. Or, I knew I shouldn't have worn this, or whatever. We can notice. But we don't have to get stuck there. We can still just notice the physical sensations of sitting here. Is your back against the back of the chair? So there's that sensation somewhere up here, right? Of that sense of pressure, right? What about the hands, the fingers? What are the fingers touching right now? Are they touching each other? Are they touching a fabric of your clothes? Just noticing. It's all about noticing. And these sorts of things are very useful because they're always in the present moment, right? When we think about a physical sensation in the past, the taste of that chocolate or the coffee or a pain we had, that's a memory. Or, we're anticipating something that we're going to taste. When I get home, I'm going to have that chocolate ice cream that's in the fridge, right? We can notice that. But that's anticipation, that's future. Right now, at this moment, what do you notice? Right now, at this moment. And so these physical sensations that are so ordinary, they're very ordinary. It's like, what's the big deal? They're very useful for bringing us back to this present moment, just as it is. Okay, so here's some other ordinary experiences that we can use to practice mindfulness. One of them is eating. I mentioned eating. I really like the traffic light one. The traffic light at Carpenter and Washtenaw is about 3 minutes long. Yeah. And so we can sit there and we can notice just the physical sensations of sitting in the car. Maybe we're holding the steering wheel, one hand, maybe both hands. Maybe we notice sitting on the chair. Maybe we notice our foot hovering over the gas, waiting. Maybe we notice antsiness. Maybe we notice impatience. Maybe we notice that we're late and we're worried about being late. So there's a lot to notice, right? We can notice the car next to us, the truck next to us that's kind of a little too close. We can notice not liking that. So there's a lot that we might notice in that, just this 3 minutes of this traffic light stop. So it's a really useful little exercise in ordinary informal mindfulness. Brushing your teeth. Does everybody brush their teeth once a day? At least once a day? Yeah, maybe twice a day too. What if we really bring our attention to the sensations of it, right? You grab your toothbrush. Everybody has a different way of doing this, but and you put your toothpaste on it. Maybe you put it under the water then, maybe put it all in the water first, and then you start in. Maybe you always start up here, and you go around. What does it feel like? What's the taste like? What are the sensations? Is your toothbrush heavy? Is it light? Maybe we notice that we're staring out the window.
It's electric.
It's electric, right? So there's this going on, right? So there's this sound that goes on. And then maybe if it's not electric, there's that old, there's other things, right? So there's a lot to pay attention to. How long does it take to brush your teeth? 2 minutes, right? At least that's what the electric ones are set up for, right? So we can spend those 2 minutes paying attention. Maybe we notice that we really want to sit there and read a novel instead of paying attention to reading or checking our cell phone. Right? We can notice that. Oh, really? I could just let the phone aside or the book aside and just brush my teeth. Just brush your teeth. Paying attention to that. Spending time in nature. There's lots to see, lots to hear, lots to notice, lots to feel when we're outside in nature. Making the bed, smoothing it down, lining everything up, folding clothes. Touching water. How many times a day do we touch water? Right? Noticing that sensation. It's very brief. And really, a moment is really, really short. It's much, much less than a second. There are many, many, many moments in 1 second, okay? So just noticing it just a little bit, that's good. Getting into bed. I can never remember paying attention when I get out of bed, so that's why it says getting into bed. But if you can remember to notice when you're getting out of bed, then that whole little process of getting out of bed. Okay, any questions on informal mindfulness? So this is something you can do anywhere, anytime. You don't have to sit in any special way. You don't have to have a timer, nothing.
I have a question.
They're both really helpful. They kind of work together. They reinforce each other, doing an informal mindfulness practice as well as doing some meditation practice is a good combination to do both. Particularly around something like pain, because pain is kind of intractable, and there's a lot of well-worn neural pathways that we're working with when we're dealing with physical pain. It's not unlike, I've coped more with emotional pain in my life, and there's that intractability to a lot of those patterns too. But I can also see it with friends of mine and people I know who are coping with physical pain. But it helps to do both. Any other questions? Okay. All right, so let's talk about meditation. Let's squeeze a couple meditations in here. Meditation this is a psychology definition. You could get some pretty obscure definitions if you wanted to go digging into Hindu, Buddhism, Catholicism. Protestants generally don't do a lot of, as my father would tell you, we don't do meditation. It's okay, Dad. A family of self-regulatory practices that focus on training attention and awareness in order to bring mental processes under greater voluntary control. Notice it's not about thinking. It's not about thinking about what's going on. It's about noticing what's going on. It's about awareness and attention, noticing where the attention is, noticing what we're aware of. So it's very different than sitting around and thinking about brushing my teeth. Really noticing the experience of it. It's I hope that distinction is clear, but you can play with it. Am I thinking right now? Or am I more really being with this direct experience of it? And the other thing that's really helpful to know about meditation is that there are lots of different kinds of meditation that are out there. The classic meditation of the person with their legs folded, and why is it always a beautiful blonde, on the covers of magazines? I don't know. But, and people going off into trance states, that kind of stuff. That's one kind of meditation. Mindfulness is a different kind of meditation. So there's concentration forms of meditation, which is where you use mantras or a rosary or something like that to bring the attention back over and over and over again to the same point, right? Whereas mindfulness is a broader awareness. We're allowing our attention to be broader. And even within mindfulness, we can vary on this kind of dimension. And then there's a whole other category where contemplative practices where we're trying to cultivate a particular quality. So this is where the compassion and loving kindness and gratitude and forgiveness and things like this might come in. Okay? So let's practice a little meditation. So I'll ring the bell once at the beginning and then 3 times at the end. It's just a more pleasant way of keeping track of the time than some other ways of keeping track of time. And you can sit in a comfortable position. Usually it helps to have your back fairly straight, both your feet on the floor. And your eyes can be open or closed. It's up to you. Whatever's most comfortable for you. If it's more comfortable for you to leave your eyes open, that's fine. If you're going to leave your eyes open, let your eyes rest on a neutral spot in front of you, maybe the back of the chair in front of you or the head of the person in front of you or something like that. And your hands can be wherever it's comfortable for you. There's no special way to hold the hands in mindfulness meditation. Okay? So we can begin by bringing the attention to the sensations of sitting here together with each other. Maybe we notice sounds inside the room or outside the room. Maybe we notice the sensations in the feet, the buttocks and thighs on the chair. Maybe we notice sensations in the hands, the fingers. Are they warm or cool? Are they curled or straight? Are they touching something rough or smooth? And then shifting the attention to the breath. Wherever your breath is most obvious to you right now, whether that's at the abdomen or the chest or the nostrils, the back of the throat maybe, and just noticing that sensation of the body breathing in and breathing out at whatever rate, whatever rhythm your body is breathing right now. And we can notice if the attention is drawn away by anything And then let that be and come back to the breath. So the breath becomes your anchor, your touchstone, your home base for the attention. The breath is always there. We can always come back to it. And noticing that sense of the body expanding and contracting. Maybe we notice cool air coming in and warm air going out. Maybe we notice other things too, thoughts arising, other sensations in the body. We can just notice and then let that go and come back to the breath. Back to your home base. Back to this breath. Back to this inhalation, this exhalation. The breath is always there. I can always come back to it. So let's talk about that. What did you notice?
The sounds in the hallway.
Yeah, noticing the sounds in the hallway. Right, yeah. Yeah.
My eyes were closed, so at first they were kind of moving around a little bit, but after a minute or so I was able to keep it more in the center of my start.
Yeah. And that's okay, that's what was going on. Yeah. Other people, what did you notice?
The respiration rate goes down.
Yeah. So the speed of the rate of the breath can vary, and we can notice that. Yeah. And it might go up, it might not. If this makes you uncomfortable, which is good to know, it might go up. So we can just notice that. Yeah. What else did you notice? The same damn clock. This time it's annoying. It got louder, yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, right. The same damn clock, right. Now it's an unpleasant experience. Notice that? And that's one of the things you might notice when we notice what comes up in our awareness as we're meditating. I don't like that. That's icky. Bleh. We can notice that. And we can also notice that, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, and next thing you know, phew, we're gone, right? Or maybe we're so holding on to whatever's irritating us that's where we get stuck. But we can just notice that. We can get stuck with pleasant stuff, we can get stuck with unpleasant stuff. It's kind of always interesting to me how I notice this in myself. Holding on to being angry. What is that about? It's such an unpleasant experience to be angry, right? But there I am. Whoa. And when I really pay attention to what the thoughts are that also come up about that same time, it's usually, well, I'm right and that person's wrong. Maybe, but maybe not, huh? Not every thought that we have is true, which is kind of a radical thought. What else did you notice?
It'd be better if I was laying down.
It would be better if I was laying down, right? So there was that wanting to lay down, right, yeah, right, yeah. Because of physical pain?
I'm tired all the time.
You're tired all the time, right?
It would make me more relaxing.
Right, yeah, right. And I'm just teaching you one meditation, but there are many, many, many mindfulness meditations, and one of them is called a body scan, and they suggest that you do it lying down. And it's really bringing your attention to your body from your feet to the top of your head, noticing all those little body parts. The ankle, I don't notice my ankle. What sensations in my ankle? Well, if there are no sensations, that's okay. You can keep going. But it's usually done lying down. It's usually done lying down. And it can be a useful way to develop more of an awareness of physical sensations, of the body. Other things people noticed?
The stress on my shoulders, I kind of relaxed on.
Right, so you notice the shoulders dropping a bit, right? And actually noticing when your shoulders are up around your ears, so that's kind of a useful cue. Something's going on here, that may be our first cue that I'm not happy. I need to do something. I need to pay attention to what's going on. Yeah?
The heaviness of my head.
The heaviness of your head, yeah. Heads are about like 16 pounds, You think about that. Which is why lying down to meditate can be good, can feel good. The problem with lying down to meditate or in a recliner is that you might fall asleep. And if you need to fall asleep, it's no big deal, But if you really hadn't intended to do that and you're trying to stay awake, try meditating standing up. Not closing your eyes. If you're standing up and meditating, keep your eyes open, because otherwise you might fall over. But, you can meditate sitting, lying down, standing up. You can also meditate walking. There's a classic walking meditation where we bring attention to the physical sensations of moving the body in this very familiar way, right? So we stand here, and then we lift one foot. We put all our weight. Do you ever notice that? When we walk, we put all our weight on one foot, and then we lift the other foot up. And there's this moment when it's kind of wobbly, right? And then we put all our weight on this other foot, and then we move again. And so and I need to watch this edge. But we can notice that just this simple sensation, the experience of walking, can be a really useful meditation, really, because we're using this as a focus for the attention, to train our attention to be more present to this present moment. And we may notice the mind wandering off, going, oh, walking is really boring, or gee, I'm really unsteady, or I really like this, whatever. We can just notice, right? Anything else we want to mention about meditation? Yeah.
How long did it last?
Just now? That was 5.
Like 15 minutes.
Pardon me?
It felt like 15 minutes.
It felt like 15 minutes. It was 5. It was 5, right. But your comment reminds me that if you're going to meditate without a guided meditation to walk you through it, it's a good idea to use a timer of some sort, because we don't have a really good sense of time when we've got our eyes closed, and we're trying to meditate. And if you're saying to yourself, I want to meditate for 5 minutes, and it feels like 15, it's like, oh my God, will this ever be over? And I've been there. I've felt that way at various retreat experiences. It's like, all right already, isn't it time for breakfast? Or whatever, So, yeah. So just setting a timer can be very helpful. Other people, any other comments, questions that you might have? Okay. I realize I've only been at it for 5 minutes, but meditation isn't bringing me the peace of mind I was promised. Okay? So we get back to this idea about persisting with it, doing it again and again. What if I did 5 minutes a day for a month? I could do 5 minutes a day for a month, right? You get 5 minutes in your day. You could devote to just noticing, just paying attention. Maybe you're looking out the window, noticing. And up here in the little bubble, it says fret, worry, future, past. Panic, worry, distress, we can just notice, you know, can we just notice? And it takes a while for that stuff to simmer down. You know those snow globes, you shake them, and there's all that stuff running around, you know? And you set it down, and then everything kind of settles. It's what happens, I think, when we meditate. It's that same kind of idea of things kind of settle. What else you might notice? You might notice getting hooked on thoughts or feelings. You might notice wanting to push away thoughts or feelings. You might notice judgment. And you might notice judging your judgment, which I don't recommend getting too stuck there, but more, oh, look at that, I'm judging my judging. Oh, okay, isn't that funny? The mind is really pretty absurd, you know, and so bringing a touch of lightness. Don't take it all too seriously, okay? When you start to get to know the mind, it can be very easy to get very caught up in our judgment about our minds, instead of just, oh, because you're not the only one whose mind does these wild and crazy things. Can we be curious about our thoughts? Where did that thought come from? And next thing you know, we're getting into this whole long story in our heads about where that thought came from and why am I thinking about that? What difference does that make? Sometimes it's a piece of music that you heard yesterday. Sometimes it's a conversation that you had. Maybe sometimes there's like no rhyme or reason to it. One of my meditation teachers used this phrase, unbidden. What arises is often unbidden. We didn't ask for those particular thoughts to come up, and there they are, you know? It's the Pizza Hut commercial in your head, right? We can just notice, but we don't have to bite the hook. We don't have to go there. We don't have to stay there, certainly. We can also notice how experience changes from moment to moment, and that it's different. We can notice how thoughts are meant. We can entertain the idea that maybe thoughts are just mental events. They may or may not be true. And we may experience just being aware, which is kind of nice. So this is a useful little graphic. It's very easy to find oneself getting caught up in judgment about the mind wandering. But it seems to be the nature of the mind to wander, okay? So how do we prevent ourselves from getting stuck? So this is one way of thinking about it, okay? So we pick a focus. In this case, we use the breath, right? And we hold our focus, and then we lose our focus. Panic! And we become aware that we've lost our focus. And then we come back to our chosen focus point, back to the breath. There's only one point in this where we're being unmindful, and that's this point when we lose focus. The moment that you notice that your mind has wandered off, that's a moment of mindfulness. That's as important, if not more important, than keeping it on the breath. Because then you go, oh, wandered off again. Come on back. Let's do that again. And the mind you may find 1,000 times a minute, 100 times a minute, we're bringing the attention back. Any questions on this? Yeah.
So, to do the focus, you're just going to be basically focusing on your sensations?
Focusing on the sensations of the breath, and we notice that the attention wanders off. Oh, there I am thinking about my brother's coming to visit tomorrow. Is the house going to be clean enough? You know, there I am. I'm lost in this whole train of thought about my brother. I'm no longer paying attention to the breath. I'm not even aware that I'm caught up in this story about my brother, blah, blah, blah. The minute I do notice, that's a moment of mindfulness. And then I can go, oh, right, okay, back to the breath. Back to the breath. So other questions about this? Okay. The breath is really useful because it's always there, unless you're dead, right? The breath is always there. We may have a hard time finding it. Maybe you'll need to put your hand on your abdomen or on your, the lower abdomen is good because we're a little bit less likely to get all caught up in, am I breathing right? You're breathing right. You're breathing. That's all you got to do. You just have to breathe. You don't have to breathe fast. You don't have to breathe slow. You don't have to breathe the way the yoga teacher talked about it. You're just breathing, just noticing the breath. That's all. It's no big deal. So it's a present moment physical sensation that's always there. We can always come back to it. It's free. Not to pay for it. Right? It's accessible. It's pretty easily felt. And it connects our minds and bodies, so we can notice, like, you mentioned noticing the shoulders relaxing. Maybe there's also a sense of, relaxing and, letting go of worries or whatever that we came in with. And it's fairly neutral. You want to pick anything that's going on in the present moment can be the focus of a mindfulness meditation. But you want to pick something that's fairly neutral. If you're in the dentist chair, you don't want to pick the sensation of the dentist hacking away at your teeth, right? You want to pick something fairly neutral, like the sensations of sitting in the chair, the sensations of the breath. Something that's not about the dentist poking away and doing mean, horrible, painful things inside your mouth, right? Okay. And so any more questions about basic meditation stuff? There's like tons to say about it, yeah. Right, yeah. And there's a well-worn neural pathway that grabs your attention, right? So, it's going to take, I would, always make sure that when you're meditating that you're comfortable. And that may mean lying down when you're meditating and making sure you have a pillow under your head or whatever. So you're minimizing the extent to which you're in pain at that moment, okay? And then bringing the attention, let's say we choose the breath as your primary object of meditation. And bringing the attention to it. And then when you notice the attention wandering off to the pain, we can say, oh, there's that pain. Okay, all right. And coming back to the breath. Oh, there's that pain. Okay, coming back to the breath. And we may notice emotions come up about the pain. We have a lot of emotions about our pain, right? We have anger, resentment, sadness, fear, lots of stuff. And we can notice, oh, there's that. Okay, coming back to the breath. Staying on the breath, staying on the breath. Oh, and noticing there's the whole saga of how this happened to me and what I did and didn't do, and am I doing my physical therapy enough? And, all these little stories that get kicked off in our heads. And then we can let it go, come back to the breath. One of the things that happens as we do this is that we start to become aware of these stories that we've got in our heads. Like, my brothers always pick on me whenever we get together, even though we're adults, Or, I blame myself for my heart disease, so I can get caught up in that. So just notice, but can I notice that and let it go? Come back to the breath. Notice it, let it go, come back to the breath. And being very gentle with ourselves. This is hard to do. This is really hard to do. It requires practice. That's why it requires practice. And that's why starting out with 5 minutes a day may be just fine, I had another meditation teacher here in Ann Arbor who said that one of her students came and said that she had done 5 minutes a day for a year and she found it life-changing. Try it. Let me know. Jess can connect me up with you if you want to talk about that. Okay? So yeah, it's hard. Letting go of all this stuff is hard. So I want to talk a little bit about cultivating compassion, which is almost always, as I said, included with mindfulness practice, partly, for a lot of reasons. We're not talking about being compassionate toward the person you hate the most, okay? We're talking about being compassionate, caring about yourself, and the people that you care about. We'll start there. That's good. That's a good place to start. You want to start with easy people. There's Sharon Salzberg. She's one of my favorite teachers around loving kindness. I think she's on your list of teachers that I gave you, that are in your handouts. Start with the easy people. That person who did you wrong, save them. Once we're really cultivating this ability to bring kindliness toward ourselves. Can we be as kind to ourselves as we are toward our friends, toward our family members, the people we care about the most? Can we bring that same quality of caring? That's what, let's work on that. Let's work on that. That's really fundamental. So think of it as Tony King, who I mentioned earlier, is one of the local teachers at the VA, talks about loving kindness as bringing friendliness and kindliness. So it's not loving kindness like ooey gooey, sweet stuff. It's just being friendly, being kind. It's really easy. It's not as hard as mindfulness, actually. So let's do a little compassion practice. Any questions? Do I see anybody asking questions? Okay. All right, so once again, sitting in your meditation posture. And letting the attention come to the sensations of sitting here. And those sensations of the breath. And letting the body relax. And then begin to send to yourself wishes for your well-being and happiness with each breath. Maybe with phrases such as, may I be well, may I be safe, may I be happy, deeply, truly happy, contented. May I live with ease. And maybe other phrases are more meaningful to you. Maybe, may I be free of suffering. May I be at peace. May I be strong. May I be wise. Sending these wishes to yourself. Think of them as wishes. Because we do wish these things for ourselves. May I be happy, deeply, truly happy, at the core of my being. May I be well in body, mind, and spirit. May I be safe from all harm. And if thoughts come up wanting to argue with you about this, just remember that you are as deserving of this as anyone else on this earth. And maybe it's more helpful just to think about what it's like to send these wishes to somebody that you really care about. Maybe a best friend or a family member that you really care about. Someone who's helped you. But noticing that sense of warmth and kindliness. friendliness, gentleness. It's a very gentle practice. There's no need to badger ourselves about being kind to ourselves. Just gently wishing ourselves the very best. And then sending this to this family member or good friend. Sending these same wishes to them. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And then maybe sending it to somebody that you don't know. It's sometimes called the neutral person. So just sending it to them. Maybe somebody that you've seen at the bus stop, or somebody that you've seen at the store. Maybe the mailman, mail person. And send them wishes for their well-being and happiness. With great friendliness, kindliness, gentleness. And then imagine sending these same wishes to everyone in this room, including yourself. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. May you be free of suffering. May you be at peace. May you be wise. Just filling in whatever your wishes are for everyone here. And then if you wish, you can send it even further out the doors and windows throughout all of St. Joe's, to everybody at Dawn Farms, to people in your neighborhood, those you know, those you don't know. Sending it around the world to everyone. May everyone be happy, be safe, be well. May everyone live with ease. So any comments, reflections, questions about that particular meditation? What did you notice? Yeah?
More visual,
Uh-huh.
the words,
Uh-huh.
so like giving myself a hug.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Giving myself a boost up.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can interpret this basic idea in lots of different ways. I've also had people say to me that, oh, no, because usually what I do is bring up an image of yourself and actually put this image in your heart. Not everybody, that doesn't work for everybody, you know. So one of the advantages of mindfulness is that there are lots of different ways of doing it. There are lots of different ways of cultivating loving kindness. This is what I gave you tonight was like a short, the gist of it, you know, of what it is. So you can kind of run with it in different ways. It's typical that we start with ourselves, but if that's too hard, and that can often be too hard, send it to the person that you care about the most. And then send it to yourself. Maybe imagining you are standing with this other person that you care about the most, sending you both these loving kindness, gentleness, friendliness, kindliness, and then just sending it to yourself. Typically, we spend about half of a loving kindness meditation sending it to ourselves, because that, in Western society, that's who we have the hardest time sending it to, you know. And you might have noticed this tonight as we did it, that it was really hard to send it to yourself. And that's okay. There's no need to judge yourself for that. But noticing that that's true, you know, and being kind to yourself about it. Okay. We've got 3 minutes left. Do you want to learn the 3-minute breathing space? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So sitting in your meditation posture, and you don't have to sit in a meditation posture to do this, of course, but because it's a little 3-minute things. But close your eyes or not. It's up to you. But imagine just noticing anything that you're aware of at this moment. Okay. Maybe you're noticing sounds. Maybe you're noticing. Your eyes are open and you're noticing things that you're seeing. Maybe you notice the breath, the physical sensations of sitting here. Thoughts, maybe you notice thoughts. And then bringing the attention in to the breath and just noticing the sensations there, the sensations of the body breathing. And letting the attention get soft, relaxed. And hang out there for a little bit. And then broadening the attention to include any physical sensations that may be going on right now at this moment. Just noticing this present moment, just as it is. And the idea is that this is a meditation that you can do anywhere, anytime. You can do it on the bus. You can do it, well, not when you're driving, but when someone else is driving. You can do it while you're waiting for water to boil or whatever, you know. You can do it while you're waiting for a meeting to start that you're worried about. So this is, it's available, you know. It's just this idea of, you might have noticed my hands while we were doing it. First, our attention is very wide. It's like a tree. Our attention is very wide. Anything, right, that we notice. And then we come down to noticing the breath, and then we broaden our attention. Okay? So it's just another way. So this is on your handout, various resources around the area for learning mindfulness. There are some local drop-in sessions. You don't have to register. You just show up. They're free. The one at the Being in Tune Tuesday noon at downtown Ann Arbor has been moving around a lot because the ARC is under renovation. So call them ahead of time. You have a refuge recovery flyer as well. They're a Buddhist tradition that uses mindfulness. You don't have to be a Buddhist. You don't even have to think about Buddhism if you don't want to. The Ann Arbor Center for Mindfulness offers classes. I'll be teaching mindfulness-based stress reduction in the winter and in the spring. And then there's some local groups that offer things, as well as there's a bunch of online meditation teachers and lots of good books out there. So make it a habit. Pay attention. Make it a thing that you do. Do a practice that you like. Somebody did a research project and discovered that people are more likely to meditate if they're doing a meditation practice they like. What a shock, right? So find one you like, okay, and do it. Maybe it's just brushing your teeth every day. You know, maybe that's like, this is cool. I can hang out with this. Jon Kabat-Zinn uses this phrase, weaving your parachute every day, so that it's there when you need it, right? Every time that you pay attention, every time you notice, every time you bring awareness, you notice this present moment. You're creating new neural pathways. So we're digging ourselves out of a rut that we've been in. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.